right, I think we're back. Sorry about that. So yeah, there's this fun. I think it's a GNOME bug. But basically, so I've got my 4K monitor right in front of me. Love it to bits. I've got my Framework laptop off to my right, and the thing is, the 4K monitor has a much higher DPI than the laptop. So I have that at 200% scaling, so that it looks like a normal size, and the laptop is at 100%, which is fine for my needs, even though it's a little bit odd sounding. But uh, sometimes when I drag a window from the laptop to the main screen, it causes the whole thing to crash, which is not that's not great. I don't love that. That's obviously not a great feature. So I'm going to avoid doing that. But in the meantime, let's start up Jan again. I don't know what's going to happen to the stream or what. Sorry, I had like a whole setup now, and that all just got blown away. So I just bring up my Firefox developer. Okay. So we're going to try this again. We're off to a great start here. So anyways, as I was saying, there's a whole world of things that I don't ever want to use somebody else's servers for, frankly. Like some data should never leave my machine. I'm talking API keys, just personal data. Like, I'm not like building nuclear bombs or anything, or committing crimes for that matter. But like, the point is that I just want to know that some things are never leaving my device. And this thing that like often gets forgotten about in all these agentic tools, like, I mean, I keep seeing all these posts on Hacker News of like, oh, I inserted Claude code into Roller Coaster Tycoon or whatever it was, which is like cool, I guess. But like, if you're inserting like, you know, whatever agent it is into any random thing, like, it can see all of your stuff, and you don't actually know what it's doing. So you need some sort of a local setup. So going back to GPT OSS 20B, it's a mouthful. It's great. Like, it's just smart enough to be generally useful for a wide range of things, and especially anything technical. It's quite smart. It doesn't know everything, of course, but I've been just incredibly impressed with it ever since it came out. Not right when it came out. It actually kind of sucked when it came out, but I think all of the inferencing engines weren't updated properly, and like, it was just it was dumb. Like, it got a lot of things wrong, but like, the tooling caught up, and now GPT OSS 20B is freaking solid, and 120B is considerably better. It just runs kind of slow on my machine. I get like 10 tokens a second, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but if you're doing it, like, that's definitely enough to slow you down. So just to give you some context for how I run all of this stuff, so I'm actually, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be running, so I'm streaming from my laptop, but the actual inferencing in this case is happening on my my Mac Mini here, which is on my desk, and I'm accessing it via a screen share. And this is actually running LM Studio, mainly because Jan, what I'm using on my laptop, there's a Mac version, but it's not the most stable thing. So tangentially, and I can go over this another time, but I have a Raspberry Pi in the other room that is running Open Web UI in a Docker container, and I freaking love it. It's basically my own personal like little chat GPT of sorts that I have total admin control over. I control all the data. It's all on encrypted disks. I can ask it things that I don't want to ask, you know, a hosted model. And again, it's great for that peace of mind of knowing that you have your own AI setup. So outside of this, I'm showing you today, like, yeah, I've got my laptop, which I'm streaming from, and I've got the Mac Mini, which is this, and I've got a Raspberry Pi, which is running Open Web UI, and also using this LM Studio instance on the Mac Mini for inferencing. It makes sense for what I'm using it for, and it's also, I think, a pretty good use of the hardware. Like, the Mac Mini is basically my graphics card. Like, instead of buying like a graphics card, an eGPU, and like slapping it onto my laptop, I basically just bought a separate computer like a year or so ago. It's the 24 gig Mac Mini, the M4, and it's great. Like, and it happens like, is the perfect fit for GPT OSS 20B. Can't run 120B. It's just too big. It can't really run the Qwen 30s or any other 30B model, which is kind of a bummer. But like, honestly, honestly, 20B is all you really need. Like GPT-OS 20B. Big fan. So what I'm going to show you today, all this is a long-winded way of saying, I'm going to get rid of that. Jan is what I use on my laptop, which is an open source alternative to LM Studio. It's it's basically a glorified front end for Llama CPP, and also it's a whole chat UI, so it's sort of like a local like chat GPT sort of interface on your machine. And the cool thing is, like all these cool tools, is that you can set up MCP servers. So if I go to, so just for some context here, so this is the Llama CPP that's running on my Linux laptop here, my framework. Again, it does run 120B. I've got 20B, got a few other things here. I never really use these. I should probably just delete them to save the space. But I've also got my Mac Mini, which I'm this is accessing the LM Studio instance on the Mac Mini, which is sitting right on my desk. You can't see it. But you can see that I've got a different set of models on here, and we're going to be using the GPT-OS 20B on the Mac Mini, mainly because it's faster, because like it just runs, it gets much better tokens per second than my laptop. The laptop gets like 20 something, and the Mac gets like 35, and it also doesn't bog down my system. And for the sake of a screencast like this, that's kind of important because the stream takes some decent resources as well, as we can see here. And I don't want a laggy stream, and neither do you. Anyways, so the other thing I've got here in my MCP servers, I got a couple of things. Oh, I don't need this anymore. That's useless. This is sort of the magical thing. So it's basically an MCP server that will run arbitrary shell commands on your machine, which you have control over. You can review them before you say yes. And that I found this open source thing. So it's from here. I forked it because it's just tinywind/bash MCP. I guess they haven't updated in 7 months. It's not super stable. I don't know if it's necessarily mature, but I did take a look at the code and it seems reasonable. I don't see anything that's like taking my data and sending it anywhere else. So it seems like reasonably trustworthy code. I forked it because so the way that the MCP servers work is that every time you invoke it, it's actually it's using this one's not using this one, wrong one. This one over here, this is using npx. So it's basically, the way this works is that if the local binary is not installed, or the package is not installed, or it's out of date, it'll go to the internet live and fetch the latest and install that and then use it. But the problem is that if this person, tinywind, if they decided to get active again on this and insert some malware, I would be installing that malware, and that would be bad because I'm giving this direct access to my shell. So that's about basically the worst case scenario. So what I did is I just forked it. I haven't made any changes, but like the point is now I can control what's in this code. So mainly I can ensure that nobody is injecting something nefarious in there. So that's kind of important. So I'm using my own fork of it. And what we can do with this is that I made a special system prompt here, just called computer. And I'll give you this prompt. In fact, I can show you how I'm going to give it to you. But basically saying use the shell tools. It's a Linux Ubuntu system. Importantly, this is nice if you want it to give it any sort of logic. Like the LLM can do a lot of logic on its own, but for things that are deterministic, like math, for instance, like just execute the math in an environment that makes sense in, such as JavaScript or whatever programming language you choose. You can quickly evaluate 5 times 5. It's better than having the LLM do it. It's more efficient, and it's also guaranteed to be correct because it's deterministic. And then I just give it some information about using the GitHub utility because I want to do GitHub type things. And also, do not perform destructive actions without asking for and receiving explicit consent. Now, generally, it's always possible. Like the way I explain, or the way I think of LLMs is like this gigantic, hyper complex pachinko machine where like you drop a ball at the top and it just like hits all these little pins on the way down. You never know which way it's going to go, and there's always this possibility that it goes some crazy direction you never could have imagined, and it does something very destructive. So like it is possible. It is in the realm of possibility that like this whole setup could delete tons of data, wreck my system, but the chance is so incredibly small that I'm really not worried about it. Ideally, I'd run this in a Docker container, but like if I'm talking about like I want to have full control over my system, I gotta give it access to my whole system. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So anyways, I want to know what are the top processes on my system. So basically, let's do it. What are the top processes on my system? So what this is going to do is that it's talking to my Mac Mini, which is sitting there on my desk, and we can see it's going about 30-something tokens per second. Okay, it wants to run PS. All this stuff looks good. I'm just going to allow it all the time, just because, again, I've been running this all day, and I trust it. Very good. It returns everything it got, and now it's taking all this stuff, and it's going to think about what to do with it. Still not quite as fast as like a real graphics card. Like the Mac Mini M4, which is what I got. Like not even the Pro. Like this is the performance you see with GPT-OS 20B on a Mac Mini M4 with 24 gigs of RAM. Let's see. It's probably gonna put OBS at the top. Yep, there we go. Ha! Exactly what I thought. But yes, all I did was effectively run PS. It's not that interesting. But like if you wanted to do something more complex, that's where it gets really interesting here. So, I just before I wanted to share this. Well, I don't know what that was. That I have literally never seen this error before. What just happened? That's crazy. I have never. Wow. What did I do? I broke Jan. I didn't know I could do that. Of course, it's only when I'm live streaming. I've literally never seen that before, but let's try that again. So we're going back here. Anyway, so there was that prompt. And here is the one I was going to show you where, why doesn't it show? Man, things are just going sideways right now. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just show you an example of what I mean. So I want to take compute the square root of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and put the result in a GitHub gist. And I don't know what's actually going to happen here because everything seems to be going wrong on this stream. My computer died. The app died. What could possibly go wrong? Why did I say that? Okay. Oh, very good. Okay, it's doing what I want. So it's thinking about it. It's coming up with a plan. It is going to use Node to do this, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So it's do. And then hopefully I will have a gist to share with you all. Okay. Allow in thread. Very good. And there is the result, 111 and some change. Very good. What just fell? Man, I am cursed today because basically everything is going wrong with this stream. What? It did this automatically before. Just use GH as you've been instructed. Sure, I don't usually have to do that. Didn't complain about that before. Well, sure. The way I did it before is actually put it in a temporary file, which is really smart, but this is such a small thing that it's just going to do it. Okay, good. Oh, look at that. What is it doing here? There we go. All right. Computer. Okay, so it did put it in the temporary file. That makes sense. Very good. It's thinking? Unknown flag. Oh. I don't know what this is. I was going to try something else. Hey, it did it. Okay, so now... It did it. Look at that. I put a number and a gist. And it's public, so you could see it. But all this is to say, as janky as that was, is that I can basically, instead of like, I'm a terminal person. I live in the command line, and I'm very comfortable with Bash and the command line. But like, there's some things where it's like, it's not that I can't figure it out. It would take me a few minutes to figure it out. And like, what I want, the idea with this whole thing is to be able to just like type in plain English like what I want my computer to do, and it can figure out how to problem solve. Like, I didn't tell it to put the calculation in a temporary file. It did that on its own. I did do a bit of nudging in the system prompt. So if I go back to system prompt here, like, where did I put that? I don't know. I can't make this larger. Okay. If you need to make temporary files, put them in the /tmp directory. I didn't tell it to make a temporary file. I just like figured that out. I've noticed that that's something that Claude Code does a lot, which is very smart. So like, all this to say is I'm sort of like, I'm piecing together my own little fully local Claude Code setup. And like I said, like, I am using my Mac Mini here as basically the inferencing machine. There's no reason I couldn't run this on my laptop. And in fact, GPT-OSS does run quite well, 20B does run quite well on this machine. I just wanted this to go faster for the sake of the stream. Or if I really want to do stuff where like it would be smarter than this and not get stuck on that one thing that we saw, then I maybe use GPT-OSS 120B and like, go out for a walk while it does its thing, because it's a lot slower. But it's cool. I think there's a lot to do here. Basically, all this is to say is like, this is the question of what if you combined your computer's shell environment with an LLM and you had it all local. There's some cool things you can do with that. I mean, these are pretty trivial things. Like, I've just got some like math examples here. But like, if I wanted to work with this data, for instance, this is, if I wanted to like say, I'm not going to do this, but like, if I want to say like, find the top process on my computer and kill it, like, it would do that. In this case, it would kill the stream because that's OBS, so I don't want to do that. But like, there's something here, I think. And I think the fact that I can freely expose the entirety of my system to the LLM because it's on hardware in an environment that I trust, that totally changes how I think about running an AI agent on my system. So it's cool. You do need some decent hardware to pull this off. The Mac Mini that I'm inferencing on, like, conceivably I could do this whole thing on the Mac Mini. Like, it's got enough RAM. Like, what do we got here? Like, I've got 22% RAM free, and this is really just running, LM Studio and also my email to keep in like a few other things. But like, this is the lion's share of what it's doing. So like, I could run more things on here, and this machine was like $1,000, which is pretty good for what you're getting for like. I mean, we saw that speed. For looking at like Claude Max plans, that's like 5 months of Claude Max plan, right? Yeah. So that's kind of cool. So anyways, I hope you like this. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. Basically, every possible thing went wrong with this stream. And if you are still sticking around, I appreciate your patience. But until then, you have a great day. And yeah, I'll see you. Oh, is it stopping? Nope, there we go. Oh, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Bye. Maybe? Well, now nothing works. I'm just going to close OBS. I'm doing great today. Bye, everybody. Trying. No, let me close it. I close it. This is crazy. My goodness. I can't stop OBS. There. Okay. I think now I'm actually leaving.